Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we continue our track-by-track listen through to Conqueror, the new album by BAND-MAID, and we move on to what is quite possibly the most debated issue on this entire album. And that is, of course, referring to the song The Dragon Cries. Now, this one has been quite a bit of a debated topic, even if it doesn't focus on my camera, because of the fact that this had a guest producer for a start, which was, I always pronounce his name wrong, I've never had cause to say it out loud, Tony Visconti, I think it was, and the song also was written with English lyrics in mind. Now, I'm yet to hear it, and of course we're going to enjoy this together, and as always, as I say on these videos, if you haven't already, you can check out the entire playlist of us listening to this track by track in the description below by following that link. Now, the reason why this is an interesting one to me is because, of course, I believe the whole point of this channel is we say that everyone has their own opinion and subjectivity is what music is about. But I know that this one has caused a lot of upset because some people are thinking, well, you know, the song's been pressured by label, pushing them to do things, or the producers push them to do things. I haven't really got too much into the depths of it, but I know that there are a lot of people with very strong opinions about what the cause behind this song is. However, if I'm just going to strip it back to what I'm expecting to hear, I'm looking at this whole thing as the album is for variation. I love the variation that's gone into the album thus far. It's had some interesting things. If anything, I expect that they could probably do a little bit more. So if this is something quite unusual, that's fine by me. But I do want it at the core to sound like something which is theirs, something that they are doing because they're enjoying it. So, you know, like I said, there's been a lot around this. I'm going to jump straight in and see what I think. And as always, give an honest opinion. I'm not just going to like or hate it for any particular given reason except for what I actually think. So let's have a little listen first and then see what we think afterwards. Okay, so this is the much talked about Dragon Cries by BAND-MAID. Nice riff to start it off there. Very nice riff, in fact. Kind of old school.
Something happened long ago. The world was simple, and love could grow. Bound together in dark and light. At peace within, no need to fight.
Okay, where's it going? I gotta admit, it does sound a bit compressed actually, which I know that's not the producer, that's more the mixing engineer. But so far, good riff, moves along nicely, decent chorus. It's not spectacular, but it is really catchy.
You left me, no reason why, no falling away. My love and blind, my best was empty.
The layered vocals and the guitar sound are working really nicely.
No sun that shine, a moonlit sky. That is why, too many tears flow.
I get the feeling that Misa's doing a lot of the hardest work here. I mean, there's some really great bass stuff happening underneath this. What a wonderful combination of bass and drums. And here comes the guitar. That bass line's fantastic. The bass line, it's a kind of like, it's a marching along song and the bass is adding all of the kinetic energy at the moment. does have a real old school charm. You know, it's all in the riff, it's all in the basic melody, it's all in the initial impact. Not so many layers to unwrap on this one. Or maybe they're just hidden by compression. Alright, so basically, this is a difficult one. There's a difficult amount to unpack on this. Now, while I'm talking to you, I'm going to be checking out who engineered that song, because I have very mixed feelings about this. I mean, effectively, on some levels I really like it, and on some levels I really don't like it. Doesn't say there, was it the same engineer on all of these songs? Because it doesn't say individually for the song. Oh, well, I might just let you guys tell me afterwards in information, but yeah, it says about the production, and no, we've got one person who did the mastering, so maybe that's the reason. Okay, my issue here is that it does more than the production. Actually, I'll get onto the production, I'll get onto the song, I'll get onto everything afterwards. I know that one of the conversations outside of this song that's been coming up about the whole album is the one of compression. Just to quickly reiterate that for anyone who hasn't been following this playlist, and just for anyone who has been, just to sort of restate the fact, compression is that thing where you take the overall volume of the song, and you can imagine you have your loud bits, you have your quiet bits, and you kind of push it all down and make it all more equal volume, meaning the whole sound, everything sounds louder, but also sounds have less definition. Now, there's a lot more technical things that go into it than that. It's not quite that simple, but it basically means that, you know, your song sounds turned up to 11 at all times, but nothing quite cuts through and hits you because everything is always loud. No contrast. So in this particular case, this song really, really, really suffered from compression. In fact, this is the sort of song, I loved the way it was written for the initial impact. Like I say, that riff was really great. I love that it came in. It was very old school. I can see why they took it to an old school producer like Tony Visconti. However, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Like I say, I've never had to say it out loud before as far as I'm aware. However, you know, all of that riff was based on impact. It had that kind of stomping feel. And when you've got something that's stomping, the whole point of having a stomping beat, a stomping riff, anything, is it's the gaps between, it's the breaths that give the impact. It's the hit that matters. So when it's all compressed, and, you know, even in the spaces between the note, the fading of the note is still just dragging out 11, you know, turned up to 11. Nothing has impact. Nothing cuts through because it's never quiet in between any of the notes. And it absolutely drains the life out of this song. Now, I don't know, and I'm hoping and assuming that Tony Visconti was not connected to the mixing. Usually what would happen, this very much changes between different projects. We should point out studios and different crews have very different ways of working, but normally the producer does their bit and they give it to the engineer, who then does the mix or the mastering, or maybe two people or one, whatever. The thing is that the producer usually hands it off for them to finish. And I can't help but feel that maybe if this was, as it appears, Tony Visconti does the production and hands it off, I would love to know how he felt about hearing this back, because it sounds dead. It's a song that you can hear that there's supposed to be life in it. You can hear the fantastic riff. You can hear the beat. I mean, this is a beat where, except for that really awesome breakdown in the bridge, Akane is doing one of the simplest beats that she's done for a while. And the reason she's doing that is because she knows that there's a lot of guitar riffing. The bass is just amazing. It's wandering all over the place, doing fantastic runs in this. It's all about those details. And so this is one of the songs where all she has to do is mark the beat, mark the head bumping, so that everything else can happen in between. And yet her beat is wasted by the fact that the mix just, you know, it doesn't do anything. It's just, you know, the beat hits, and then the minute that sound fades, the guitar is filling everything up to 11, so nothing punches through. It feels like it doesn't have any impact, and yet you can hear that it's written for impact. It's like a horrible miscommunication. So if we're talking about, because I've started on the critical, I don't want to completely go on critical, because like I said, I basically actually really like the idea of this song. The vocal performance, first of all, point out, fantastic. I get the feeling that that layered bit in the second verse was a combination of both Miku and Saiki's vocals. So Saiki singing lead and Miku, I think, singing the backup on that one, and that worked really well. The voices sound great together, especially because this is one where they're pushing forwards. They're giving it that real sort of rock pomp. They're singing with a lot of energy. And that works fantastically. I love the way it blasts forwards. I do actually like the production in the sense of the sounds. There wasn't much in the way of additional production. I think he was smart enough to step back and not put things in because the song already had enough in it already. You know, a producer sometimes, if the song sounds thin in certain places, can add something. We were saying about on the opening song page, there was this thing where the guitar is there, but there's also an acoustic guitar kind of mirroring what the electric guitar is doing, and I don't know whether that was an instrumental choice or a producer choice, but it's one of those things where it well could be a producer saying, hey, you know what, this would sound a little bit more full if you put this in. I don't know, but that's a possibility. However, in this song, it didn't sound like anything was added by a producer. It sounded like the writers, the band, just went in and straight in and produced a song that sounded full on its own. So I don't think he had to add anything, but he would have had a lot of choice in how things sounded, the tone of things. And I think that the tone of the vocals was really lovely. I loved the sort of how feel. It felt very energetic. It felt like the voices had a lot of punch despite the mix, like I say, flattening everything out and, you know, stopping anything actually having a volume punch. He gave it like a tonal, you know, a sort of tonal feel, and the tone of the guitars as well was brilliant. I know that a lot of that comes down to the guitarist choosing pedals and things, but you'd be surprised how much of that actually is the producer saying, I think you should try this instead. Yeah, I think any musician of any level would agree to that before people start jumping in and saying that that's a heinous thing to say. It is true. So, you know, I get the feeling that the guitar tone here would have been something which came partly down to the producer. And yes, I can hear things that make this a very maturely well-produced song. It has the identity of the producer and it has that kind of old school feel. It has some tonal differences to a lot of the other songs that have come before on this album. And yet it also has a restraint to it that, you know, there's a respect for the fact the song's really interesting, well written. Now, as for the lyrics, a lot of things have been said about the English lyrics on this, which I'm going to have a quick peek at them, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not hugely concerned. I must admit, partly due to the compression of the song removing the detail, one of the things that does in rock songs, it makes it very hard to understand the lyrics because, again, tones don't come through. But having a look, they're relatively simple. Okay, fair enough. I didn't really hear a huge amount of the lyrics, and I think there have been, I've read some comments, a lot of this has come up on our Discord where people have discussed about, you know, the lyrical content of this song and whether they were pushed to do an English language song. I don't want to get into that particularly, but I don't think that anything felt out of place. I mean, it didn't sound like they were struggling with the singing. Like I say, the singing actually sounded quite full on. It sounded really well delivered. I don't see any problems there. So effectively, when I look at this song, I kind of feel mostly it feels like a really wasted opportunity because there seems to be a lot of really interesting integrity to what's actually going on. There seems to be a lot of detail to the writing, especially to the playing. Playing's fantastic. Like I say, Misa's bass is brilliant. Kanami does some brilliant little lead stuff that's in there. But again, all of that's buried by this horrifying amount of compression. I do think the production was really good as well, actually. I liked it. I thought it was both restrained and quite knowing of what was going on. It had that old school vibe. I'm actually quite, I mean, I don't know if this song was written with the producer or to be used with him, but it does sound like something that you would take to an old school Western producer to do. And I think that he's treated it in the right way. But like I say, I think all of the things about this are good. For me, it's not necessarily totally my type of thing. This is one of those songs where I think if we were to forgive the mixing errors and just get past that, if this was really nicely mixed, I think this is one of those songs where I would probably really like it when it first came in. But, you know, sometimes there's those songs where they have just this amazing riff at the beginning, but by the end, they kind of don't do enough to keep you. I think that would probably be how I felt about this one because it does kind of plod along and the riff is great, but I think this is more of a live track, if I was honest with you. I'm kind of thinking about things like, for example, One Vision by Queen is one of the examples I usually use. One Vision like has one of the best build-up in intros. Like the intro is so hyperbolic. It just really, really energizes you, punches in, and then it just kind of doesn't manage to do anything to maintain that. And then by the end, I think most people have kind of lost much interest in following it, which is quite strange for Queen as a band. So, you know, there are songs where they do that, where the riff is really great, but doesn't quite pay off in the long run. It's probably too much for the song to maintain. This has a good chorus, actually. I really like the chorus to this, and it has that fantastic bridge. I can't say enough about that. And, well, actually, to be honest, there's probably no point saying it because it just speaks for itself. It's so fantastically played. The work between the guitar, bass, drums, just everything falls together beautifully there. The drum solo and the bass solo were borderline jazz in quality, and then the guitar comes along and does that really knowingly sort of slightly weird but very, very apt and fitting solo. Everything about that bridge worked, and it does have its moments, but I think that mid-tempo pace to me didn't quite work as much as it. But then again, I've got to say, maybe that's because of, like I say, the more I think about it, I think about all the great things that are in this song. It's got a good chorus, it's got a great bridge. The verse I wasn't massively sold on, but it was okay. It was kind of, it gets you to where you need to be. I think maybe the song is better than I'm giving it credit for, and it is just the fact that the mix has killed it. This, like I said, I've been through this album thus far, and I was expecting to talk about something quite different on this song, and so far there have been some really, really great songs. There have been some which have been slightly stifled by the mix. This is the first one where I would say the mix has absolutely killed this song. And if I was Mr. Visconti, and assuming that he is not responsible for the mix and the mastering of this, I would be mighty pissed right now. I want to listen to that song again. It sounds like something where I would enjoy listening to it again. There is a really sort of good piece of, just good sort of fun rocking piece of music, but I already don't know if I necessarily want to go back to it just because it sounds so mushy and lacking in definition. I am really sorry to say, so my final analysis, songwriting, pretty damn good. Great riff, not like the greatest arrangement they've ever done, but pretty damn good. Musicianship, absolutely off the chart brilliant. Really, really fantastic. They covered everything from rock to, like I say, almost jazzy quality in here. Amazing. Production, good. Not like the greatest thing ever, but good. Knowing and worked very well for the song. Mix, absolutely criminal. Blame it on the mixing or the mastering, absolutely criminal. So I think that is horrifying. I think someone needs to get hold of the multi-tracks and the production maybe as well and give it to someone a little bit more respectful of the material. That's my honest opinion, I'm afraid to say. So, great song. Don't know if I could really stomach listening to it again, though, because of that mix. Anyway, I've kind of flogged this dead horse a little bit here, but I think there was a lot of points that needed to be said, and I wanted to cover this one carefully, because I know there's a lot of people who've been really hyped up about this song, and there's been a lot of stress. And one of the other things I'll quickly add, maybe I shouldn't go into this, but I'm going to say it anyway, a lot of people I'd noticed, and I don't want to call anyone out because you're more than welcome to point out and say whatever you feel is true. But a lot of people seem to be posting things about XYZ was happening in the background of this song. Now, one thing I can say, having worked in studios, having worked for record companies, having worked in these particular environments, is that it's just not, if you're going to go into the background of how and why a song was written, usually don't have any clue until years later. And even when the musicians tell the story, half the time it's very hard to remember exactly the creative process. It's one of those things where don't allow people to give you ideas or leak to you what the motive was behind a song or any creative decision. Just see if you enjoy the output. That's all that matters. And, if a band really don't want to do something, they won't do it. That's all I'm going to add to that. And if they do it, then you'll soon find out, usually about a year later, when they have permission to move on to the next album and they start saying how much they were angry about the last one. So for now, from Japan, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope those thoughts have been constructive and helpful, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your comments on this one. I know a lot of people have agreed about the mixing issues and have warned me that it gets worse for everyone on the album. I'm hoping that is the worst example, because I don't think I could stomach much more of that kind of compression. But for now, from Japan, as I say, thank you for tuning in. And until I read your comments, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao. Thanks for watching. Feel free to check out more of our hundreds of videos we got online on this channel right now, or get involved in the discussion with us at the many social media links we've got in the description below, where you can suggest new videos and artists for us to check out on the channel. Or you can just do the usual YouTube stuff and comment, like, subscribe. You know how this works by now.